Now, for those of you who are tuned in, you would know that Zeng and I had done an episode a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, where we are looking at the life and death of our former president. Now, it may surprise a lot of our viewers, but till now, the former president hasn't been buried, and this is because of a stalemate that is going on between the state and the former president.
I am an African.
So Zenge, what were the family's initial wishes, and that caused the initial breakdown between both parties?
So basically, the Lungu died on the 5th of June, and then initially the first thing that came out was that basically Lungu, the family had a very strong demand. They wanted Lungu's funeral to not have the president of Zambia in attendance. They did not want Hakainde Hichilema, aka HH, to be present at Edgar Lungu's funeral. And then other aspects of the funeral were also, they also wanted other aspects to be included. So they wanted this a state funeral of some kind to honor Edgar Lungu as the former president of Zambia. But at the same time, they also did not want the president of Zambia in attendance in any part really of the funeral. And they also had other aspects like basically move the body also to Petauke, which is his home village, and then also to Kitwe, I think, where he was born and where he grew up in his young, early childhood. And the government basically rejected those two aspects. In fact, three of them, because when he died on the 5th, there was that back and forth. First, it was just outrageous. People were like, "Oh, wait, why are they saying the president should not attend?" and so on. Because in every state funeral, every death of every president of Zambia, both former president, those presidents who had died as former presidents, and those presidents who had died as current incumbent presidents. So our third and our fifth president, Levi Patrick Mwanawasa and Michael Sata, those died in office, and all of the others, former presidents, died after being president. In all those occasions, the sitting president of Zambia has been in attendance at that funeral. So this would be the first ever funeral, in the event that the family got their way, to be the first ever funeral that the president of Zambia is not in attendance. So there is no actual law particularly determining who should be in attendance at a state funeral. It's just protocol. Protocol basically can be written and unwritten. It's just how things are done, traditionally. There is protocol for a state funeral. So military, 21 gun salute. If you are, if you are a lawyer, president of some kind, you go to sort of like a ceremony at the Supreme Court because you're part of the judiciary in one form or the other. And then you also sometimes, is it parliament? That's in the US where they take them to parliament. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so there's various things that they do this for a state funeral, official state, because this is the highest honor that you can give someone. Mm-hmm. The idea of a state funeral is that this person has done an enormous job and served very important positions to contribute to the country. So it's not a normal human being who gets a state funeral. Yeah. So the family basically had those requirements. Why did they have those requirements? Basically, the family do not like Hakainde Hichilema because, especially as president, because of the way they feel their relative Edgar Lungu was treated. Lungu lost the 2021 election to Hakainde Hichilema, who had contested in an election before in 2015 and 2016. So they are known rivals. They have had rematches before. And Edgar Lungu, in 2023, October the 28th, at the memorial service for Zambia's fourth president, remember I said Michael Sata died as president? Lungu took over from that guy. And at that memorial service in 2023, Lungu, who was former president at that time, declared that he wanted to return to politics. And he made it very specific that he does not care about the benefits. he said that he knows the benefits will be stripped off of him.
Yeah, and just
Which,
to add some context, usually when a
yeah,
president leaves office, they're given a set amount of benefits from the states. I believe there's a salary, there's security, there's quite a number of things, the house and
the secretary, servant,
Yeah, exactly.
cars,
So on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they have a special number plate, like so. And then also, so there's a presidential benefits law. There's a law that governs that. I think it was enacted in 1993 or something like that. So it governs how the benefits that a president gets. So as Nathan said, all of those benefits, plus even your wife, the first lady, is entitled to some kind of salary for her whole life and protection to some degree or another, and assistance. Children up until the age of 21, most of their things are done for them, like school fees and things like that. So regardless of if you are 2 years old when the president died and the president is your dad, up to the age of 21, you'll be taken care of. So all of that was stripped off of Lungu when he announced that he has returned to active politics. And I saw someone in SABC News, they were asking the foreign minister, oh no, why did you strip, I think they confused active politics and presidency, and contesting for the presidency. But active politics is active politics, where basically you have one say or another, or you hold a formal office of a particular political party. It's not just like sitting back and maybe writing an opinion piece on the newspaper, but like you are actually involved in campaigns, in rallies, you have a position in the party. And Lungu was given the presidency of the PF again. And also eventually the chair of the Tonsi Alliance, which was the coalition of opposition
just to add to
parties.
that, if I'm not mistaken, the stipulation that the law that basically gives the former president benefits is dependent on them not getting back into active politics, right?
Yes. Yeah. So there's that. Those benefits were withdrawn, right? And then on the other hand, there were a lot of corruption cases. The Anti-Corruption Commission, Drug Enforcement Commission, Zambia's corruption fighting agencies have been pursuing people affiliated with Lungu as well as Lungu's family. And many of those in Lungu's camp, pro-Lungu supporters, including his family, feel like this is just unwarranted political persecution. But many of those cases are deemed as processes of crime, many houses, I think 8 cars. There was a case that I think there was even a court sitting that was supposed to be done in the second, third week of June, so like last week, where the first lady was involved in. And she's basically wanted, right? She's in a active court case for corruption. So, there's that. There's a perception that they feel persecuted, unwarranted persecution. And they feel like their father was abused. And obviously, the rival coming in, who was a very prolific critic of Edgar Lungu during the time, especially in opposition, they feel like it was hypocritical for the current president to come and just say, oh, okay, guys, now, as former president, let's just, put that beside us and let's give him a high funeral. It feels like, okay, you are basically insulting our dad all this time throughout opposition, and then as president,
when he was sick, we wanted him to get the benefits back, but then stopped it.
Yeah, although I do have to correct, the secretary to the cabinet, who is basically the chief civil servant in Zambia, that's his position. He did say that the government, when Lungu was leaving this last trip, when he left Zambia to go to South Africa for medical treatment, where he died, Lungu did say that, no, not Lungu, sorry, but they did inform the government that Lungu is traveling. And according to Patrick Chagwa, the Secretary of Cabinet, he did say that we can provide help and facilitate for his medical treatment. And according to Chagwa's narration, the family just said, this is just to inform you. We're not asking you for anything. This is purely private. So that's his point. That's his defense.
That's Patrick. Yeah.
That's what he said, actually. And he said that, when Lungu died on the 5th, and then on, when was that? It was a Friday. There was a Friday the 5th. So Friday I think it was Friday the 13th. Yeah, Friday the 13th of June. They came to an agreement and they compromised. Basically, they said, "Okay, Lungu will not go to Petauke. You will not go to Kitwe," and they made a program. And there, Chagwa actually said that actually to clear the rumors, we did not deny Lungu to leave. No one was fired because Lungu wanted to leave, because they said someone was fired at the airport for allowing Lungu to go to South Africa. The Secretary of Cabinet denies that. Even the claim, as I said, the claim about medication, being denied medication, the Secretary of Cabinet denies that. So the framework, the funeral program began. And so Lungu was supposed to come back to Zambia on the 18th of June. Yeah, on the 18th of June. And then
I think there was this whole thing, like, in South Africa, there was like the plane, there was a red carpet, everything was being prepared in South Africa, cameras were out, everything was rolling, and then all of a sudden the red carpet was being was being put back. I don't know, maybe you can shed some more light on that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what? Unbelievable. Because on Friday, everyone was like, "Oh, the impasse is solved." And some heads of states like Bakili Muluzi, former president of Malawi, and and also Nagagwa, was said to have been part and parcel behind the scenes trying to negotiate with the government and the family. And then on the 18th was the beginning of the funeral program. It's supposed to last from the 18th of June up until the 23rd of 23rd of June, which would be the burial of Edgar Lungu. So the planes was there, as you said. There was a plane, a private jet, private chartered plane, because the family insisted that, as they said he went to South Africa as a commoner. Apparently, Lungu, according to the family, went with an Uber.
Yeah,
apparently
he traveled in a normal, I don't know what you would call
economy class,
commercial plane, an economy class, and had to take an Uber from the airport to
in South Africa.
Yeah.
So they're saying, no, Lungu traveled like this, so you go on his own. We'll use our own means to take him back. So the plane was privately chartered. The government, I think, it was reported the government had offered one of the military Air Force planes, but their family was like, no. South Africa had a red carpet. South African Defense Forces were also there to do like a proper salute for the funeral procession to start beginning. And members of the Foreign Office in South Africa, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, were also there. Journalists were there. South Africa's presidency, office in the presidency, actually announced that this is going to happen. And then last minute, there were even people waiting at the airport in Lusaka, in black, And all of a sudden, the family decided that, he's not coming. They're like, no, he's not going to come, because the family, they felt the UPND, so it's not the UPND, sorry, the Zambian government,
the state,
had reneged on some of the elements of the funeral procession. They did say that they wanted everyone to attend, which is a bit confusing, because they want many of the aspects to be private, but at the same time a state funeral. But they didn't want
the state
to be invite only, because the program was released by the government, and
I see.
So there was the Hakainde Hichilema as president, who was supposed to receive the body, back to Zambia, to his homeland. The family didn't want that, and then they also didn't like the fact that it was an invite only event, the reception of the body of Edgar Lungu. But I think from the government side of view, I think they knew that many people would come and politicize it. Like, if it was invite only, first of all, it's a presidential pavilion. Most people, it's always invite only at a presidential pavilion. I don't think anyone can just go there and just swarm the airport, like those days when we had like a small airport where anyone can just pass. I don't understand that aspect. I mean, I get the invite only maybe for other things, but there's aspects of it where, like, the president was not in attendance. Like, they didn't.
Precisely.
Because there's like two sessions. There was a private session and then an official one after So in the session, there was the 18th. Lungu arrives, the president welcomes him. and then the body they didn't want the body to sleep in the national sort of conference center, in Mulungushi Conference Center.
Yeah.
The body was every day going to go back to Lungu's personal house. Lungu's personal house, for reasons that I don't know.
Unknown.
That was one aspect which was in the program. And then there was also apparently they said the government sneaked in a session where there was going to be just like HH would be the first person to see. I don't know. There's some superstitious aspect of them not wanting the current president to see Lungu's body, or to be the first one to see Lungu's body upon arrival. Like, I don't know. So there were numerous aspects there. And then and then also there's just so many things. Then there's also, the idea of Lungu sort of laying in state for a few days in the National Conference Center. And then after that, there's one day where there will be an official one with all dignitaries, and then a private family one and a burial. Yeah. So now in that lying of state, as I mentioned, he'll go back to his home every day. And then during the day, public people can go and see it at the conference center. That road going to Lungu's house apparently was scheduled for maintenance. And then 2 days before, the Road Development Agency said, we are going to suspend the maintenance because of the funeral procession that will happen. Right. But the family also added one of those elements to their reasons why they felt the government was being insincere. But on the other hand, the Road Development Agency said, we are suspending maintenance on that road. So it's clear. I don't know. It was very...
Makes sense. I mean, because, again, I'm not trying to sound like a... pro one party or another, but that kind of does make sense. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for roadworks to continue while such an important event is occurring. Yeah, but I think I don't know if you had anything.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just like moving from that particular aspect of the funeral, I believe the body remained in South Africa. And the family was still in South Africa and actually started to plan for a funeral in South Africa. They basically neglected and said, you know what, forget it. We're going to bury him in South Africa. And I think it even got to a point where the church service was planned. Everything was prepared. People started even going to the church service. And then again, last minute, the state actually interjected this time. I believe that the Attorney General of Zambia actually filed an application at the South African court requesting that the funeral be stopped and that they begin to basically apply for an application for the body to be repatriated to Zambia. And from the state's perspective, again, just to reiterate, is that the government's perspective is that they don't see this as a private issue. As Zenge mentioned, that the family really is trying to make it more private. But the state does not agree with that. They basically say that this is an issue of national interest.